Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's garden video. I'm going to jump right in here with a couple projects that I ended up doing this week. The first was, at the end of the last video that I posted, you saw that I was going to go up and search our old wood pile for some leftover boards, and I was going to build planter boxes around the new planter beds that I had just prepared in the garden. And I didn't do that last week because I couldn't actually figure out which boards to use, and trying to figure it out and getting them down from there was a bit of more of a project I was prepared for last week. But we had some nice weather this week, so I decided to go up there and take some down. And now these are old boards. What's really kind of funny is there were a couple times during this project of me cutting it up where I had to do some math and some calculations because the boards weren't quite as long as I thought they were going to be. And you'll see that actually came and bit me in the butt a little bit later here. They're not intended to be perfect. They're just really trying to give a visual indicator of where my planter beds are. So, and you can also see in the background, you can see Ava, there's a shadow on the right-hand side. That's Ava, our goat. She's keeping me company over there, and some other animals walk by. It's always fun working in the garden because you always have a little bit of an audience there. And here I'll just let you guys watch me put the boxes together. I got to the point here where you saw me kind of putting my hands on my hips and thinking. I wasn't quite sure what I had done. Well, I knew what I had done wrong. I didn't have a good way to connect these two boards together. So I ended up kind of figuring out something and cutting off a little extra piece there and getting them screwed together. And so they're all tacked together. They're not perfect. Here's what the end result looks like. They're on the ground. They show where the beds are going to be. I will put dirt in them. I'll go get some topsoil, but really this is where I intend on putting a couple new beds this year. And you see Astro in the background giving his approval as he walks by. Another project I did this week is I had some onions that were in the garage, and they ended up sprouting, and I thought I need to get them in the ground. And actually, I don't know if they'll survive in the ground now that they've sprouted this much, but they were intended to be seed stock. I wanted to see if I could grow these into seed because onions are biennials, as I found out last year. And so I saved them, but they're sprouting and I don't know what to do. So I'm just like, I'm going to throw them in the ground and see what happens because otherwise I'll just buy additional seeds. And I apologize for the shaky camera work, but that's as good as it gets. I was also given some new stem lettuce seeds this week from a friend of mine. He stopped by, and I've never grown this particular variety before, but I thought I would give it a try. And one of the things I wanted to do was I didn't want to just keep the seed heads on a stalk like he gave them to me. I wanted to actually just get down to the seeds. So what I did is I spent some time pulling the seed heads off the stalk. You can see me here kind of crushing the seed pods in my fingers, and what that does is that releases all the seeds as well as like the shell encasing it and everything. And so you can see me here going a little more slowly through this process. But really you just kind of pull it apart, and again, sorry for the video framing with my hand not being quite in frame. I can't really see what I'm doing, but you squeeze them and out pop a bunch of seeds. And then, so that's kind of what I've been doing in fast motion in earlier parts. But here I'll just let you kind of watch me collect a bunch of seeds. Once I've got a bunch of seeds in the bowl and all the other stuff that comes with it, like that, the fluff stuff and all the skins and everything, what I end up doing is trying to separate them out so that I really just collect as many seeds as possible. It doesn't really matter if I have other stuff in there with them, but I want to have them as clean as possible. So you can see me here. I'm actually blowing into the bowl. You might see fluff blowing around here, and some of the seed pods I hadn't quite cracked open good enough. And it's kind of like panning for gold, I guess, where I'm shaking the bowl a little bit and blowing and trying to blow the lighter stuff to the top and letting the heavier viable seeds sort of sink to the bottom, where I can just collect the viable seeds. And if there's other stuff in there, I don't really care. I'm just trying to make it as clean as I can just because it makes it easier when I go ahead and plant them out or later in the spring. So here's me just collecting the rest of the seeds. Once I get him into a little pouch there, I save all my leftover seed packets from before. I just crossed out what was in there and then I labeled them. I labeled that incorrectly. It's actually stem lettuce, but I know I changed it later. Another project I did this week was I went into the greenhouse and I kind of reorganized it a bit. I spent some time putting all of my new soil that I bought over kind of at working level instead of on the ground, because that'll help me be able to fill all of my seed pods, my starter pods, as I go along. And you see me here filling up one of the pods. I'm getting it ready to plant out some of the lettuce, including some of the lettuce I just got. And so you see me here kind of going through that process there. And yeah, for the lettuce, I ended up doing, I didn't actually use up all of the lettuce that was given to me and made it into seeds because there was way too many seeds. So I just kept a bunch, but I seeded them kind of from the seed pods, and then I seeded a couple other varieties of lettuce that I own, and I have them in the greenhouse kind of growing out, and hopefully they will do well and germinate, and then I'll get them in the ground in the not too distant future. But it's got me very excited for this spring. But the 3 types I put in were that stem lettuce, I have a red leaf lettuce, and I also have a romaine. And here actually you can see I've collected these are seeds I collected last year myself. Well, that's all the projects for this week, and I think I'll just leave you with a little video of Astro enjoying himself in the sunshine.